Good morning again.
Good morning.
I'm battling allergies, so I'm going to try to be as... You got a much cooler, calmer version of me than normal, so congrats. You're crazy. Y'all know that already. So today, I'm going to cover how we use 3 apps to organize our company. So, of course, I hope everybody does some kind of version of task management and project management. But I have come to find out that a lot of people just kind of wing it. And I think that's kind of insane. But, because life gets so complex and we have so many things going on and so many times we drop the ball. So in our company, we were having a difficulty probably about 2 months ago as we're figuring out how we're planning our year, how we're planning the quarter, how we're planning the week, how we're planning the day. And Janica brought in a lot of experience from how she's organized her company. And so bringing that into our company and figuring out how we can work, it's been super, super valuable. So, of course, the question is, how many of you have felt that your day runs away from you, or you really have your idea planned of what you want to accomplish, but then when it comes down to the implementation in the day, it doesn't actually work out so well, right? So these are kind of the problems that we were having, not only for me personally, which is honestly still a challenge, but also as a whole team. Like now you have 5 or 6 people all moving, and if all their days are getting ahead and running away from them, how are we ever gonna set a weekly target or a monthly target? So the intention for today is to share the strategy and tactics that I've learned and we've learned as a team on how we conquer our goals through a digital task management system. So the concept, some of the big concepts that I'd like to share today is to work on systems over goals. And so what that means is that a system generates the results that would ultimately lead you to accomplishing your goal, rather than this idea of just writing down your goals all the time on your journal. Like, I want to have a best-selling book, or I want to run a marathon. That's great. And so I actually have that as an example. And this is an example from Brianna. So Brianna wrote a novel in 31 days. Actually wrote a novel. Well, how did she do it? Huh?
It was 50,000 word novel in 31 days.
That's right. So either you could just keep on having that goal, like I'm going to write a book, or do what she did, is she actually had it set down to, in this case, was 1,667 words a day. She had a very aggressive plan. But if you wanted to do it in 10 months, you would write 160 words a day, 167 words a day, and at the end of one 10-month period, you have your result, which is a book. So I know 2 authors that have actually published books like that. One is Brianna, and one is a guy named Raj Daniels. If you guys, know who he is? Same thing, same story. And the other one is, let's say you want to run a 5K marathon. You can start running, or you can hire a coach that actually will show you the exact steps that you need to accomplish your goal, and just follow the fucking system. And at the end, you got your 5K or a marathon or whatever it is. So those are some really, really big concepts. So I have a question before, because this is not a goal setting discussion today, obviously it's brief. Is anybody interested in actual conversation on actual goal setting? Because that would be something somebody's interested in to attend for a breakfast? No? Nobody? Okay. You're gonna get invited anyway, so I don't give a fuck. Support group. So, team, next time, whenever I ask a question, everybody, at least in the team, and then that'll motivate the other.
He was nodding.
I didn't see Robert. And Steven, I'm being honest. If it doesn't fly to Steven test, usually I don't do it. So, this is a big thing that it dawned on me last year, which is I had my task. I was using Trello at the time. I had my task system. But there's all these things that I wanted to do based on my system of my goals that never made it into my task management system. So if your routine says write 167 words a day and run a mile, and that's not in your task management system, it's not in your day-to-day plan, where are you going to find the time to do it? When are you going to remember to do it? That's the other part. So a lot of us run either no system, or we have a system for our task management, the stuff we want to get done, and then we forget the routine, boring stuff that makes up our life that needs to get incorporated into the system. That's a huge, huge lesson for me and realization and how I have to incorporate my daily routine task into my task manager system. So what I have to do today is not only, for example, have a breakfast meeting, but it includes the things I needed to do beforehand and the things that I want to do later. And if I don't incorporate all those things, it's not going to happen. And if you have just consistent busy work, this system is probably going to be overkill. So I don't think this applies to anybody here, but let's say you have a very, very simple job or a very, very simple life. This is probably going to be a little overkill. You probably just need a routine system. And that's what checklists are for. A simple checklist will help you just get done those basic things that you need to get done. But when you're juggling so many different balls, you need something that'll help you out. And I really believe in being fully committed to this system. And I'll tell you what that means here is even dumping your ideas of things that you want to do in your task management system. So you get it out of your brain and it's not that stressful thing that you're always thinking about or trying to remember and forgetting. Does anybody have any questions up to this point? This is a good time not to raise your hands because that means I'm doing good. So, and I talk fast, so let me know if I'm talking too fast. So this is our journey and how we came up with these three. And one of them was we were using Trello and Janica kept on bringing up Asana. So finally I said, Janica, I'll trust you and let's look at Asana. And my whole thing was I do not want to move systems, right? And so she was gracious enough to try to work in Trello. She'd been used to it before. But was really amazing when we went to Asana and started off with a clean slate as we built up what we do. So we started off first by breaking up things into categories and projects. And I'll show you this stuff later. And then we divided these projects by team, by sub-team inside of the organization, such as marketing or our teachers or subject matter experts. And that helped us avoid the clutter because it became just so many things. And that included a backlog list of stuff. Again, anything that we think of we're going to do, we have a space for it in Asana. So right now my idea is like research, buy, and I actually have this one there. Research, buy new speakers for the house. It's in Asana. Everything is sitting in there. We assign tasks to specific people. And Asana is really good about this because it allows you to only assign tasks to one person. So there is one person ultimately responsible, which in Trello is not. You can assign multiple people to a card or to a task. Please stop me if you have any questions, okay, as we're going through this. And so what I loved about this is that we ultimately know who's responsible for this particular task. We assign...
I have a question about that.
Yes.
When you're doing that, when you say responsible, does that mean that that person has to complete that task or that person is responsible for collaborating with someone else, or they're responsible for making sure the task gets done no
That's
matter
right.
who does it? Okay,
so what's really great in here is that you can break it into subtasks.
Yeah.
You can add tags, and I want to talk about that. Very specific, it's a very valid question. You can assign tags to specific tasks, so you can organize by tags. So for example, things that I need to talk to Janica about or Steven, I have a different tag. I click on the tag and boom, it pops up just those items. And I'll show you those in a second. You can assign due dates, obviously. There's a nice mobile-friendly app for this. So anything that you want to do most of what you do on the desktop, you can do on your mobile app. Super amazing. And so what you brought up, which was really interesting. So ultimately, Ginger, everything in your company's responsibility is yours, but that's not, right?
I know that.
And so then you end up having, well, then you say, well, I want to give, to whatever, Sarah. Sarah's job is to reach out to Abe and David and also reserve a room. So there's 3 or 4 different things. So what we realized is that subtasks are great for organizing. I like to move things off the subtask into a main task. And I assigned myself a new task called check on this.
Gotcha.
That's how I, as currently operating as a COO, like the operational person, is also keeping myself aware of what are just things that I need to be checking on. I have a whole section just for these particular type of tasks. And so I know it's their responsibility. I know the subtask, who's responsible for it.
But you don't let it go from your mind. You still check on the...
And I had to remember that because let's say...
Without being a micromanager.
Without being a micromanager.
Just want to make clarify that.
Right, yeah, because ultimately, and I have a hard time with that, because as the owner of the company, the buck stops here. So in our world as owners of companies, when the buck stops with us, so does the pain associated with a failure, right? So there's some success that the team shares, but usually the failure is landing on the owner's lap. Like, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't book that guy's airline ticket. Like, what the fuck? He was the keynote speaker, she was the keynote speaker at the event. That overnight, like all that, like the jet airplane you're gonna fly him in on, or her on, that's on your pocket. So that kind of freaks me out. And so what I do is I keep oversight on those, like check on that and let the other person manage it and make sure I'm not losing visibility on those things.
Question. Who inputs all of your shit into Asana and manages the projects?
It depends on what the projects are. So what we do,
Like check on airline ticket.
so those particular things, sometimes if I'm in the middle of a process with somebody, I'll just ask him, please assign that to me. Write that and assign it to me. Or it takes just 3 seconds. And so while I'm in the middle of talking to somebody about something, I'll just make a quick note, check on this thing. And I can show you actually what I have things to check on. But that one line to check on actually represents like a 5-day task for the other person that they're working on and working on the subtask associated with it. So there's magic in the details that make things successful, I think.
Well, you're saying something different, and I just want to bring it up because I want to
Go ahead.
highlight what you're saying is different than the devil's in the details.
Yeah.
I love what you're saying is very different.
Oh, got it. Oh,
There's an old saying.
yeah, for
right?
sure.
So I want you to really talk about the magic in the details.
I think the difference between good and exceptional is really just a little bit. It's actually just a very little bit. The reason that the Four Seasons or the Ritz-Carlton can charge way more than the Omni, which is charging a way more than the Marriott, is just those small, tiny little details. But those tiny little details mean that you care enough about the customer journey that you'll actually sit down and think about what's going on, and then putting time and resources around resolving that. What does that feel like? What does it look like to the customer? What's the experience? This is something Jason Osborne talks a lot about. What is that moment? So it could be like, let's just slap some stuff together, or like, let's actually think this out. For example, in that restroom, there's no tissues for blowing your nose. Why? It's not something that most people would come out of the bathroom talking about, but it would take them a little extra moment and a little bit extra hit on the bottom line to say, we need to have tissues, because people sometimes need to blow their nose here. Right? These are the small little things, but I think the lack of ability to think like that also affects everything else in someone's life and in somebody's business, in my opinion. So one thing I do in restaurants is I look at the ceiling and I look at the air vents. And if you look at these air vents, you'll notice they're not completely filthy, but you also notice that they're not polished. So that means that the level of detail on their checklist for the monthly cleaning of the restaurant probably does not include that. What other little tiny little details are they missing back there?
Well, can I ask you another question? When does it become perfectionism, and when is it good enough for an exceptional customer experience?
I think it depends on what is the kind of customer experience that you're wanting to have. Right.
I think it comes back to ship it as fast as you can, just be willing to innovate.
I think there's a difference between shipping fast and shipping sloppy. That's another thing too.
It's true.
You know, and I push back on that. It's like, it's just a little bit of extra work, right? Because I could ship, even this is super fast, right? But we actually spent a lot of time in this. So we could have spent twice as long, because we could have had a PowerPoint presentation. We're like, well, we don't need that level yet for what we're wanting to accomplish with our core friends, right? But it's not sloppy. You'll see there's handouts that you're going to be able to take home, and that there was a lot of time and effort put into that. So hopefully you find value in it and you're like, this is cool, I want to come back to another one. I want to send my friend to one. So one thing we did is now you have your task management system. You have the ability to assign tasks to people, and you have the ability to put deadlines. Great. How does that impact your day? This was a really, and this is still challenging for me, as somebody that's all over the place, but what's actually happening is that when I set a task that says, for example, check on breakfast marketing, is that a 15-minute task or is that a 2-hour task? Is that an 8-hour task? And if it's an 8-hour task, why am I trying to do 4 more things on that day? So this was something that is not visible in any of the software in Asana by itself. However, there's an amazing bolt-on called Hourstack that allows you to actually take your task from your Asana board and assortment of different integrations. There you go. It allows you to grab in from an assortment of different sources, including your calendars, and drop them in, increase the time allocated to them. You can time track versus time allocated. You could generate reports from it if you want to, if you're charging to the client. So I'll give you a trick that we learned on Hourstack. If you are doing the same task multiple times, so I'll show you on this one. On the left side, you see where it's like bolded and where it's grayed? On the right side, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
When it's grayed, that means you already have allocated it in your calendar for the week or last week or this week. So the problem that they have is that if you change the due date in Asana, but it's from the past, it doesn't re-bold it as like, hey, you know, you're wanting to do this again, right? So we had to learn some things. Sometimes we duplicate it or we create a task that replicates the same thing. So it's amazing because you can go down and say like, I have not allocated these tasks on any particular day yet, right? And how long is it gonna take me to actually do this? So it's amazing. And then you can say, how many hours a day are you working? I don't know, in a 10-hour day, you probably are only working 7, realistically, right? Because you got this, you got that, whatever, right? So you're like, I'm trying to hit 7. So you move it around like, boom, 7 hours of work, I'm good. And you can move on. And I learn really fast. I'm way too ambitious for the kind of stuff I'm trying to accomplish in a day. You know, like it's just not possible. So what's happening is either things are getting backed up or I got to be able to just delegate, which is also a scary thing for control freaks. It's the truth.
There's also a thing where you can put how many hours you want to work, and if you load up more time than you allocated, it'll turn red.
Any comments?
I'm saying like, hey, you're going over.
Are we all surprised? You're like,
Nice.
Team Hourstack allows visibility across the team. It's really great for a team leader to see what everybody has set up for themselves and what the whole team is working on.
I don't have internet connection, so I can't show that.
And another cool thing about Hourstack is that let's say you get a request for a specific day, you can just look at your Hourstack, not your calendar. You can look at your Hourstack and say yes or no. You're like, my God, I got 12 hours of work on a 10-hour day. I cannot take on anything else. It's just not even possible, right? But if you look at your Google Calendar, you might be like, well, I only had one lunch. I'm good. No, you're not. You had too many things due on that day. So now we use another application, and I like this really from the team lead perspective, which is called Instagantt. So it allows you to do Gantt charts across your organization. So what we use this for is to have I use this because I could provide a visual to the team that says, this is what we're working on in this quarter. I haven't got to the point that we planned out the whole year yet on Instagantt, but you can see what we're running on the quarter, and you can see, are we overloaded as a general statement for our quarterly goals or our monthly goals? Very easy, just look at this, and we start analyzing, and it's completely visual. It ties directly into Asana. You can assign it by section, so we have professional development section, we have Founders Guild section.
How does that help you figure out anything?
I'm looking at, for example, if we're going to launch, true story, Ken Hansen, Jason Osborne, and Jason Troy, all now, when are we going to actually be filming, and when is the expected date? Remember I said I expect by the end of April we're going to have their live classes up, because I saw what it looks like in there. I was able to then, we set up one specific task that says launch SME per person, and we did a start and end date, which you can do in Asana, over the course of 45 days. So I can actually look at that and see where am I actually launching people, and knowing how much workload it is per person. If they're too stacked, it's impossible. So we got to slide one out because it's just too much workload. So we do that first because then we can come back and look at it and say, okay, that means we're not doing Jason Troy in March.
Sure.
Let's start him in April because it's just too fucking much work. And then what else do we have down? So by actually going through this, I was able to whittle down what actually we were going to be working on, because it's so easy for me to be able to say like, yeah, we could do that. It's like the work that Robert does. It's so easy, right? Like a 1-minute video is fucking easy. Yeah, right. 1-minute video can actually take him 2 weeks to develop, depending on what it is. Or it could take him 5 minutes. So getting some kind of idea of length allows us to organize. Does that answer the question?
Instagantt, it's an add-on in Asana, or
It's a standalone, but they all integrate together. So,
I saw that it only works with Asana.
oh, so it's, there you go. So it's only for Asana.
Okay.
And you don't have to use the Zapier integration.
Nope. These all tie directly with each other without going through Zapier, by the way.
And what's the monthly cost for each?
I have them on the sheet of paper.
Oh, cool.
So other things that we learned is that we can create templates in Asana for projects. So if you do something repetitively, let's say you're doing a multi-day event with one client, and it's the same checklist you want to make sure you do every fucking time, you can create that in Asana, copy, paste, and just go with it, so you're not repeating tasks. You can organize things in sections, which I'll show you in a second. Let's go ahead and show the, pull up at the section view on the My Task list.
I'm not connected to the internet, so what page I was on when we left is what we're going to look at.
Okay, that's fine. Let's see if you see it. If not, I can show it on my phone.
It was current month, so it does show the
So there you go. So these are all the tasks that we wanted to do in the current month, and you can see how we broke them up by section. Infrastructure, marketing, so forth. Very, very easy. There's the card view. Are you guys familiar with card views, like an agile board or anything like that? Can you show Hourstack, the image for Hourstack?
She can't because she's not connected.
No, I think she has the slide pulled up. Oh, go to Hourstack, right there on the tab.
Yeah.
So there's another app called Trello, and Asana allows a view somewhat similar to this. Can you show that page? So your task would be by card. That's what's called the card view.
Kind of like little sticky notes.
Yeah, it's like taking, they actually run them in some companies by sticky notes by by a lane or a list. What I liked about the list view is that what I do is I scan for due dates. I scan for labels. One of the labels I made is, it's $3 signs. That's the label. It means this makes me money. So I really want to always keep those on the highest visibility. Do that first besides something else. So it's like, whatever, right? Research this book, call it
Excel spreadsheet.
Or yeah, well, stuff like that. Work on Excel spreadsheet or do this one. Well, which one is actually going to make you money? Make sure you do that one first. Really, really valuable. Trello has Asana has a repetitive task feature. So I've just realized how I can use that for our team. So what I've done is I start putting my routine in Trello. In Asana. I've used Trello for like 4 years, something. So it's getting harder to change that name. And that task would just boop, show up in your My Task list on the day that you want to do it. So you want to call, let's say you put in there, I want to do this event every 3 weeks, and just show up. See, that's the whole point. You don't want to remember anything. You want your software to tell you what to do, so your brain can get out of worrying and focus on other stuff. So I try my absolute best. If it's something I got to do, it's in that software.
Because we only have so many decisions we can make in a day.
That's valid. Tell us about that, Ginger, for people that don't know this.
Well, there's research that's proven that you only have so many choices in a day where you're able to make a choice. And after that, your brain shifts into automated mode, and you're just going with the flow. You're in automated mode at that point. You can't make those choices. So use your decision power for those big choices in life or in work, and look at if you know what your day has planned out, then you can actually say, well, these are the things where I really need to use my decision power today, and allocate your decision power appropriately and effectively.
That's right. I think it's called, it's called cognitive something. What is it? Do you remember? It's like a battery. Your cognitive ability is actually like a battery, drain at the end of X number of eggs. You know
My
the term?
strength is not remembering names, but I do have it. It's decision. I don't know. I'll get back to you on that.
Yeah. So what they figured out was that your cognitive ability to make decisions is like a battery.
Yeah.
If you continually pound on that battery, it will die, and you cannot make decisions almost out of it. So you actually have to take a break, or you have to disengage.
Tell me
It
more
also
about
depends
that.
on where you're
Decision
So, like-
fatigue is something that they
Right.
So like if you make decisions straight for 3 months, like 3 months solid, decision, then your brain finally goes into like numb mode,
It's actually daily.
daily.
and where then you have to like
And
check out
and
for,
it's
like,
every decision counts. Every decision, including what you're wearing, including if you had 5 toothbrushes out, you're like, which tooth? Even simple stuff like that, it pings on that part of the brain.
Sure.
And so that's why if you've never heard, Obama used to talk about that. He's like,
That's why he doesn't choose what he wears. Right?
yeah, he's like, I don't want to do that because that's another decision that I have to make today. He's like, he wouldn't want to do that. So I forget the term, and I'll find the term for you. It's but it's actually a thing related to how your brain, your decision making is like a battery. So that is why you need to disconnect, and I don't, but I should. Noon, go take a walk, whatever. You're actually using that to recharge that ability to come back and make more decisions. And so what helps is sometimes I'll be in the office and I can't. And you can ask Janica, I'm like, I'll just stare at the computer. She's like, do that.
And if you get up and play,
Right.
break up your day by doing something fun, interacting with a coworker in a unique way, then you kind of refresh your brain.
You recharge it.
Yeah, you're actually getting more power to be a higher performer.
Sure.
So if you incorporate play and games, you're going to perform at a higher level.
Right. And if you do it at the times, like if you focus your work time when you know your brain energy time is, and then your break time when you, like for me, from 2 to 4 in the afternoon, I do not want to make a decision. You ask me to make a decision, I either need copious amount of coffee, or I'm just going to be whatever comes to my mind. Yeah, whatever, that sounds good.
Yeah.
And I'll do that. Like they'll ask me questions.
Are you
that
someone
I
who
don't care.
doesn't care?
Yeah, I'll say I don't care at this point.
But that's not who you really
That's
are.
not who I am.
Yeah.
I like to control everything though. But between that time of the day, I know I will not make major decisions.
Yes.
But you give me 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 at night, I'm good. And then before 2 in the afternoon, I'm good. Yeah. It's acknowledging that and managing it.
I
Go ahead, Bree.
always have intention, there are things that I do because I know they don't take a lot of brain power, so I'll just sit and be like a little simple little game on my phone or something that doesn't take a lot of brain power, and it gives my brain time to rest.
Right.
I'm just sitting there coloring in or jumping up and down on things. It's just something simple that doesn't require a lot of thought. It's also knitting and crocheting and just any simple repetitive task.
So it actually makes me think of this concept of grinding it out, which I really don't like that phrase for a few reasons. One of them is I know mechanics, I know how to work on a car, and if anything ever grinds, that's not no, right? You do, right? In machinery world, that's grinding, horrible, stop the factory, right? And then it's this concept where you're putting in that level of effort every single day. It's the false idea that actually will yield results. It's not sustainable. So it's like the turtle and the rabbit, right? So the tortoise and the hare. Tortoise and the hare. So, there are days that you have to put longer hours in, right? But the reality is that if you're consistently doing that, you start not performing very well at all. So I think that's really important too. Especially as you're in the process of starting your first business, there's that need to grind, supposedly. Or it's let me just structure my whole life to be sustainable. Sustainable along your goal, right?
Well, I take breaks to play with my puppy because she's a Jack Russell and she needs to play, and she wants to play frisbee or ball or dribble her basketball around the yard or something. And because you have a human Jack Russell.
They'll run each other.
I imagine, yeah.
It's incredible watching them happen. Yeah. So decisions, I think it's a huge one. I like to remove that myself as much from all those things as possible. Routine stuff I like to put in there, or I'll automate them. I really, really try to focus on doing the things that I love doing, not the things I have to do. And so I recommend getting a personal assistant. I recommend getting a virtual assistant. I recommend getting a cleaner of the house. Whatever you can do to focus back in on what you want to focus on, because time is so limited. So, any questions up to this point?
Do you guys use Slack to talk?
We do. We use Slack to chit chat also. Yes.
Because Asana integrates with Slack.
It does, and I haven't figured out. So chatting. In Asana, you can chat on a project.
Sure.
You can chat on a task.
Sure.
And then what we found is.
And you can chat at the organization.
And you can chat in the whole organization. But what we found is that I look at those as not instantaneous.
Sure.
I don't look at my inbox in Asana as an instantaneous, constantly looking at the inbox of where I can write a reply, right? So I'll use Slack for all that.
Sure.
But if it's like comment, they get to it sometime in the next day, that's where I'll put that on specifically on Asana. So any other questions?
So one thing, how do you, or any recommendations on developing the habits of start your say? So for people who have no plan, just kind of wing it, developing the habit of even looking at Asana, I mean, that's starting something new.
So I could say it another way. It's like, wouldn't you love the freedom of not stressing out about stuff, and also the efficiency of you increasing your efficiency, not having to stress out, or that feeling when you're like, oh my God, I have to do that shit in the next 5 minutes, right? Like those type of things are so stressful for me that I realized I did not want that.
Right.
So I've started to develop systems. It's really interesting. People they'll laugh usually when I say this. I'm like, I actually really prefer a stress-free environment. I actually want a harmonious life. That's actually the biggest thing that I drive toward is harmony, right? Where things just happen as they're supposed to happen, right? So in the process of my life, I've learned that, for example, hypercritical things, I'll put an alarm on my phone that rings, not even Asana, because it hits my phone and it's like this thing, right? Because there's been times where I forgot to pick up my daughter at school because I was so into work. And so I used to have an alarm on my phone that pinged me at 3:30 every day. I could not miss that, right? So that's a little backup system that I use for mission critical stuff that has to get done, because what you don't want to do, like last night we had an application to turn in for a speaking opportunity. That was not only in Asana, but that was also on my phone, right? I didn't want to miss that. It was too critical. I don't want that feeling of like, oh my God, I missed up. Oh my God, I didn't go to my friend's party. Oh my God, I didn't want to, like, that is more stressful to me than checking Asana. Do you see what I'm saying? It's a totally different world when you're not worrying about that stuff and carrying it on your head all the time. Yes, of course.
I like to say that you're going to be dominated by something in this life. And people who don't like domination will avoid the domination of their own words and their own commitments. And it's a strange human phenomenon, you know? I was one of those people. And I'm like, something will dominate you in this world. Either your automated way of being that's driven from the past, or your word and your commitment to the future that you create and you're creating and you're willing to sustain and develop, right?
Man, that's genius, Ginger.
His pain was to avoid all of that, to have the harmony. But that might not resonate with you. It's what you want to avoid or what you want to create that's most important. You got to find you could say your why, but that loses a lot of what I'm trying to say. It's more than your why. It's like, what pain do you want to avoid that's worth the habits? What future are you dedicated and committed to, like, causing and bringing into existence that will be worth the habits? Thank you.
I love that.
And the
I mean, God, listen to this.
Just habits.
What'd you say?
Creating the habit. The tactical approach to the concept is just to create the habit, set the timer. And like for me, every Sunday afternoon, my timer goes off at 5 p.m. to set my week. So I go into Asana, I pull in my Google Calendar, I pull in my tasks. I go into Hourstack, pull in my Asana and my Google Calendar, and then set it out. And the days that I forget to do that, like this week, it's big chaos. So I feel that pain.
Okay.
So you're going to be dominated anyways. So be dominated by your own word and commitment to your future.
I love that.
See? That's why I have her around, man, every once in a while.
Every once in a while, I throw one of those quotes out.
That's really genius, though. I mean, that's like when people are going to say something. Oh, I don't like that structure. I don't like, well, okay. That's genius.
Well, it was through a lot of pain that I got to that.
Of course. It's amazing.
And like, if you're gonna build a life, you can't build a life without a plan and without blueprints.
So I'm about to wrap up. So is there anything in the comments or questions or concerns or anything? What do you think, Samantha?
I need to organize my life.
I don't want anybody going home feeling bad, okay? Because this is a struggle. This is a system. This needs maintenance. It's like anything else, and it's still something that it's kind of a work, right? It's still something I'm struggling with. Hourstack is still something that Janica's like, Abe, fix your Hourstack because you're stressed out. This is why you're stressed out. You're not planning your week. So this is something, but it's really been amazing, this one particular application. Yes, ma'am.
Well, you said you forgot, at some point, you forgot to pick up your daughter from school. And I want to say that you're one of the best dads that I know on this planet.
Thank you.
And if you're someone who can do that, you know, imagine what everyone else who's not as great as you are at those things might be dropping or letting fall through the cracks. Because that's one of your highest priorities.
Yes, absolutely.
But you're also committed to doing so many things. So thank you for bringing such a great group of people together.
Oh my God, this is amazing. We love this.
Everyone, yes, good stuff. Thanks, Robert.
I do want to say that it's that idea of systems, though. So from an engineering perspective, I did systems. I worked on systems. I developed systems, and I read a book called E-Myth. Are you familiar? Have you read E-Myth?
Yeah.
You guys all need to read E-Myth, especially you, Evan. So it is about the entrepreneurial myth that somebody that's really good at something can then start a business, and the difference between being a business owner and working inside of your business. And in the book, it takes the story of a baker who's really great at baking cookies, and she bakes great bread, but she doesn't look at her business like a business. And so there is no systems, which means you cannot hire team members, and it just is a freaking train wreck versus, you know, the Ritz-Carlton or a hotel where you walk in and things are there. So
There's another great book on that too, called Scaling Up.
Scaling Up.
Yeah. It's like a textbook. It's a boring ass read, but its frameworks are really good, actually.
Yeah.
Ingenious.
So, yeah, I mean, I look at everything like that. Almost anything. It's like, why is there not a system in place here? Why, you know, and I ask these simple questions like at home, like, why do we run out of toilet paper? Or why do we run out of tissues? Like, where are they supposed to be? And when it dwindles down, doesn't that trigger a response to go do something, right? Like, it should just happen. In my life, I think things should just, harmonious. Things should just happen, right? And I don't forget stuff like that because of this. Like, anyways. So I have invitation to learn more. So if anybody's interested in an actual deep dive on this, the way we've integrated it, looking at our boards, let us know. I think I can do a webinar on that and really spend the time going through the very, very nitty gritty of these softwares. And I think most people at this table know I worked on a mobile app startup that I crashed really successfully, but the concept was a database of my trusted contacts. So we're bringing out that project. If you're interested, I'm going to start keeping a database of those that want to be in it. What are the skills that they have? What are their specialties? What are they looking for, so that I can continue to make connections. So if you're interested, let me know. We do have the iPad here. You can fill that out, or we'll send you a link later and you can fill it out yourself. And we are going to host an event. I'm going to recruit this young man. He doesn't know about this yet.
All right.
So I want to do a 2-day event here in Dallas. It's going to be a mindset event. It's going to be called the Kinetic Breakthrough. It is going to be based around conquering life and achieving goals. Internally here, I can tell you guys it is going to be heavily focused on mindset. We're not going to market it from that perspective. So, because I think Mindset is not going to sell to the people that really should be in the event. They're wanting to know how they can fit, their swimsuit for the summer. That's what they need, but actually it's the core power, mindset stuff. So we'll be doing that event probably in 4 to 5 months. Bill Walsh will actually come down and be a keynote speaker. He's going to talk about small business. And if you're interested to be part of that, let me know. Tickets are going to be $1,000 a person. You can bring somebody with you. And yep, that's it. Anything else?
Nope. Oh, this is the stand and bow.
Thank you. We are done. Oh, and I have more than like 5 of these books. So if anybody wants one, they're $20 a piece. Buy them from me instead of Amazon.
Can I give you my card and follow up?
Absolutely.
Oh yes, and I will. Yeah, I can connect everybody together also. Meant to say that.
Whichever one you want to give.
Oh, good.
7866.
I can't use my decision-making power.
Gotcha.
That's right, bro. See?
Which one do you want?
Oh, speak up.